Good morning, my wonderful students. My name is Mrs. Omidiji, and I'll be teaching you civic education. Our topic for today is election, elections. And at the end of the lesson, the students should be able to define what election is and state at least 5 types of election. I could remember last year in Nigeria, there was what we called election process. The present government was being voted into power, and the citizens came out en masse to vote their choice of candidates into power. And these are the processes that they followed. The green and the white nylon bag is the ballot box where the electorates are putting their ballot paper. You will have been imagining that then what is election? Election itself is when the electorate votes their choice of candidates into power, who they believe that can carry out what was in the manifesto of the party, who they believe that can carry them into the promised land. When they make those choices to put them into the position of authority, the process is called election. That will lead us to the types of election that we have. We are having about 7 to 8 types of election, and we're going to run through them one after the other. The first one is direct election. Direct election is when the candidate is voting their choice candidate into power. When the electorate is voting their choice candidate into power, and this is done by themselves. Nobody is representing them. This is called direct election. The second one is indirect election. Take for an instance, at the National Assembly or the House of Representatives, the masses voted those senators into power. But when they now sit, there are some key positions among them that it is not the masses that would handle that. It is the voted officials that would handle that to get the post of Senate President and the Deputy Senate President. When this voting is being done, it is called indirect election. The next one is Electoral College. And the Electoral College has to do with the body of elected members who in turn elect the political or the public officers into power. It's very close to the indirect election, whereby there are body of electoral members that will vote some people in to be in power and operate from them. The next one we'll be looking at is by-election. At times, having voted in choice of candidates into power, there might be occurrences such as death. The candidate that was being voted into power may die. And when that happens, there is need for another person to be in that position. Not only death, the person in question might be asked to resign. Maybe he has committed fraud or done something that would not make him to be eligible to be in such positions. When those things happen, it is by election that is being conducted to fill that vacant post. Then the next type of election is runoff election. As time goes on, we'll be learning on a topic called electoral malpractices. But before we get there, I want you to note that when elections take place, there are a lot of things that happen that might not even make the election to be eligible. And when they emerge a winner and the other party is not comfortable with this and have evidences that the election was not free and fair, it can be taken to court. And the judge might decide that the election is annulled, is not okay, and it cannot be allowed to be passed on. So when they cancel the election, it is runoff election that will take place to get the right person into that position of authority. The next one is referendum election. This is purely yes or no election. You're not sitting on the fence in this type of election. You either say yes or you say no. Whenever a matter arises and they want to make conclusion on it, most especially those at the National Assembly, when they bring out a bill, when they present a bill, when the senators present a bill that they want to pass into law, they must have make everyone in the National Assembly to know what is going on, what their aim of bringing up such bills is. Then the Senate President will ask, if you are in favor of this bill, say yes. It can be saying nay or high. The high stands for yes, while the nay stands for no. So it's either you say high or you say no. And this is called referendum election. Then the next one is primary election. The primary election is done within the party. Before we can even talk of election at all, there is what is called political party. Without political party, there cannot be democracy, and without political party, without democracy, there cannot be election. So the primary election stands for when a candidate is to be chosen among all the party members to serve as a flag bearer to the public. That is, who is going to represent the party. When such election is being conducted, is referred to as primary election. So you hear them, we have different political parties such as APC, PDP, and so on and so forth. And within themselves, they will organize an election to select somebody that will represent them outside there. When such election is being carried out, it's called primary election. The last but not the least is the plebiscite election. It is also a yes or no answer, most especially for the matter of urgent national importance. Like when there was crisis between two places, when they are fighting over boundaries, there are some matters that it will be taken to the National Assembly, and even it might be the governor that is handling it. And when such election is being conducted, they will just have some representatives that would, it might be a situation whereby they put some committee, they ask some committee to sit on such matter because it is an urgent national importance. And within such committee, this is not masses now, within such committee, they will have to say yes or no. Not necessarily the National Assembly, but it's still called plebiscite. They will have to say yes or no to really know which one it should be put into law that everyone will follow. As the case is, we have come to the end of the lesson, and I would like to give you a recap of it. The first one is election. I want to remind you that election is the process whereby the candidates choose the electorate choose their candidates to be in position of authority. And we have like 8 types of election. We have direct election, we have indirect election, we have by-election, we have runoff election, we have referendum, and we have plebiscite, and the last but not the least is the primary election. Each of these elections have been treated, and I want you to know it by heart. Not only knowing the point, it is important, for you to be able to list and explain them. It shows that you understood what you are being taught effectively. Now, let me evaluate you. What is election? Number 2, list 4 types of election with short explanation. Your note has been uploaded to the website. Download it and do the assignment. By God's grace, we will meet in the next class. Stay safe and God bless.